Pleased to be able to share a few thoughts with you today, which will begin like this. One of the long-standing traditions in the High Holy Day family service that I'm privileged to implement year to year is that on Kol Nidre night, just before the mourner's Kaddish, I painstakingly prepare and then recite a list of people lost to the world in the past year. It's not a list of congregants who we will remember the next day at Yizkor, or a list of all the famous people who died, which you can find on many end-of-year specials, though admittedly those lists come out at the end of December rather than in the middle of September. This list is of people who had an outsized impact on history, culture, or even all of humanity, and is made up mostly of people who you never heard of, but whose work you most certainly have heard of. It is, as I always admit, a biased list. There's always a reference to the New York Mets for me, and to the Brooklyn Dodgers for my father. This year, all-time Met great Tom Seaver and Boys of Summer author Roger Kahn played those roles nicely. There are always activists who stood up to corruption, like Dennis Goldberg, the only white defendant convicted alongside Nelson Mandela for protesting apartheid, and educators who stood up for students like astronaut wife Annie Glenn, who did incredible work helping those who stutter. There are always some actors like Kirk Douglas, and some who played necessary behind-the-scenes roles in the entertainment industry, like Rick Ludwin, who made sure that a little show called Seinfeld got green-lighted. There are sports figures this year, including the great Don Shula and Kobe Bryant, but also inventors and marketers like Fred Cox, a former NFL player who brought us the Nerf football, and Herb Goldsmith, without whom the members-only jacket would not have been worn by at least one B'nai Torah rabbi. And there are Jews and Israelis too, including the Rashi of our generation, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. And if you email me, I'll be happy to send you the whole list, and this year my video of that list. So one person on the list that I've been thinking about is Chadwick Boseman, the extraordinary actor who most recently played T'Challa in Black Panther, but did equally incredible work in the movie 42, playing Jackie Robinson, and Marshall, playing Thurgood Marshall. He was lauded by his audience and acting peers for being at a level of dedication to his craft second to none, always reflecting dignity, grace, humor, and sincerity. Boseman was just 45 years old when he passed away. He died of colon cancer. And it is notable that as he played this great judge and this great baseball player and this great comic book superhero, he knew he had colon cancer. In his latter roles, it was at an advanced stage, and he would have treatments not only between movies, but between shooting days of his movies. Oh, and also, virtually no one knew about his illness. Can you imagine how important his privacy was to him? How much he did not want to be known as the actor with cancer? How much he wanted to be judged for his work and his work ethic, not in spite of battling disease, but totally on his own merits? So here's what I've been wondering about. It is a stretch, I admit. But if Boseman were Jewish, and he came to his rabbi, and his rabbi was me, and he asked if he should be public about his fight not just with on-screen supervillains, but with this terrible illness, what would I tell him? And I know immediately why you think this thought experiment is pretty implausible. After all, if Bozeman was Jewish, is it possible he would have so much as a common cold and not complain about it to anyone who would listen? And there is some truth to that. I kid you not. I was recently watching Jeopardy with Yafa, which we rarely do. And there was a medical category. And I totally ran the table on the diseases and conditions the clues were describing. As a rabbi, you hear stuff, which means people are talking about stuff. And a full 23.6% of Jewish jokes are about Jews going to the doctor, which of course requires that I tell you a joke. Shmulik goes to the doctor and the intake interview goes like this. Doctor asks, "How do you feel?" Shmulik responds, "How should I feel?" Doctor, "What hurts you?" Shmulik, "What doesn't hurt me?" When do you feel bad? When don't I feel bad? When did it start? Better? When will it end? But there's a more serious reason, other than the implausibility of a member of the tribe keeping this to him or herself, as to why a rabbi might advise that this struggle be shared more broadly. It is possible that he might have inspired those who are grappling with that or any other illness, wondering if they could find the strength to persevere. If they knew that he was doing what he was doing, and doing so while battling cancer, perhaps they would find some strength and inspiration in that. But make no mistake, I respect very deeply his decision to keep his illness private. Just as I respect anyone watching today, and there are many of you, who choose not to share, perhaps except with a very small circle, the difficulties and struggles you are facing in connection to your own illness. The reason I can't say wholeheartedly that people should share their medical battles with the world is that there is an overriding principle that is also at stake here. And that is everyone's right to privacy, which for some is the equivalent of maintaining their dignity. And that's also an overriding principle that we must take very seriously. Privacy and dignity. The right to share what you want to with the world and keep other aspects of your identity, interests, and even illnesses private. These are also Jewish values. Bozeman didn't even tell his directors and fellow actors, perhaps channeling the Talmudic adage to reveal a secret to only 1 in 1,000, since most people are unable to keep a secret. If you are the one who has something in common with one of the great actors of this generation, know that you are allowed to, but not required to disclose your private information to anyone who you do not want to share it with. Yet you also have the permission of our tradition to do so. And so if you are a sharer, I have a Talmudic story for you. One who is sick should not reveal it on the first day of his or her illness, so that their luck should not suffer. From there on, it may be revealed, like that which the famous sage Rava does when he falls ill. On the first day, he does not reveal it. From there on, he says to his servant, "Go out and announce Rava is sick. Those who love me will pray that God will have mercy on me, and those who hate me will rejoice over my distress." Parenthetically, I'll ask, do you think the Talmud did not understand human nature? I read this story to say that if sharing your illness will give people the opportunity to be of assistance and for you to be strengthened by their support, then perhaps it is a good thing to do, even sometimes overriding the instinct to not share it. Perhaps to do so will not chip away at your dignity as much as you think it will, but will instead allow others to share their concern and their care and the love that they have for you. And also for you to know that you are being prayed for by many. But that choice is and remains up to you. And maybe you're the one who has been confided in and asked to keep someone else's confidence. And if you are, then guess what? I have a story for you too. The Talmud teaches there was a certain student about whom a rumor emerged that he revealed a statement that was stated in the study hall and should have been kept secret. And the rumor emerged 22 years after the time the statement was revealed. Rav Ami removed him from the study hall as a punishment. Rav Ami said, "This is a revealer of secrets, and he cannot be trusted." Whoever Chadwick Boseman entrusted his secret with is clearly not guilty of being untrustworthy. And that is a standard to which we must be held as well. So, should we share or not share our struggles with others? Much like the rest of our Jewish tradition, the answer to any complicated question is, it depends. Your right to privacy and dignity is paramount, but your opportunity to benefit from the love and support that family, friends, and community can provide can also be affirming, uplifting, and irreplaceable. And it can be a part of your healing as well. I always end my World Yizkor list with the same idea. While we remember people, including actors, whose impact on our world was memorable, they all leave behind grieving families. So let's affirm their humanity and their family's loss. And each of us will be thinking over the holiday about family and friends who have been lost to us, whose impact on our lives has been irreplaceable and who are missed, especially around our holiday tables. How often do we hear of that image referenced as a touch point for memory tinged with sadness? And we share this feeling by coming together in community for Yizkor, remembering privately, yes, but doing so together with hundreds of others here and thousands worldwide in these moments. Like illness, loss has both a public and a private dimension. Both can leave us feeling lonely, but we pray that neither will leave us feeling like we are alone. So let's actually and virtually hold each other up as we turn to the Yizkor service. We found in our Sidurim on page 188. Kenneth Fishman will begin by chanting Adonai Ma'adam Vateda'ehu, 188.